100% gone, 100% destroyed. They'll come back now because we have a weak administration. I will use Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries and without delay. And I will urge Congress to ensure that anyone caught trafficking children across our border receives the death penalty immediately. And that includes also for women, because women, as you know, are number one in trafficking. Children are actually number two. I want to thank Eduardo, Jim, Tim Ballard.
Een hele goede avond, dit is Dutch Dikke Nieuws met een nieuwe video voor jullie. Het is vandaag 3 januari, 3 december, hoe kom ik daar nou bij jongens? 3 januari 2024. Ik wil het graag eens eventjes gaan hebben. Het is een nieuw jaar mensen. En dan vraag ik aan God altijd wat ik moet gaan doen het nieuwe jaar. En nou heb ik op mijn hart om me heel veel te gaan richten alleen op Nederland. Echt, ik ga alleen, bijna alleen, ik ga nog wel een paar Engelse video's maken, maar ik ga me vol richten op ons land. Omdat er nog zoveel mensen te bereiken moeten worden die nog niet wakker zijn. En die moeten klaargestoomd worden voor het grote event wat eraan zit te komen. Een van de dingen die nu wel allemaal naar buiten aan het komen is het hele gedoe rondom Jeffrey Epstein. De volgende clip zal ik jullie hierna ook laten zien. Daarin zegt advocaat Bradley Edwards, maar had goede informatie die klopte en die ons hielp en die wij niet deden, die we niet hoefden te doen door een verklaring van hem af te leggen. Dat was in 2009. Hij zegt dat was in 2009. Dus kijk deze clip mensen en laat er geen twijfel over mogelijk zijn dat Donald Trump niet betrokken is bij enige verschrikkelijke zaak op het eiland van Jeffrey Epstein. Kijk deze video, deel hem zoveel mogelijk, ik moet nog even wennen aan het Nederlands mensen. Deel hem met zoveel mogelijk mensen en ik zie jullie weer bij een volgende video. Een hele goede avond, dit is Dutch Dikke Nieuws met een nieuwe video voor jullie. Het is vandaag 3 januari, 3 december, hoe kom ik daar nou bij jongens? 3 januari 2024. Ik wil het graag eens eventjes gaan hebben. Het is een nieuw jaar mensen. En dan vraag ik aan God altijd wat ik moet gaan doen het nieuwe jaar. En nou heb ik op mijn hart om me heel veel te gaan richten alleen op Nederland. Echt, ik ga alleen, bijna alleen, ik ga nog wel een paar Engelse video's maken, maar ik ga me vol richten op ons land. Omdat er nog zoveel mensen te bereiken moeten worden die nog niet wakker zijn. En die moeten klaargestoomd worden voor het grote event wat eraan zit te komen. Een van de dingen die nu wel allemaal naar buiten aan het komen is het hele gedoe rondom Jeffrey Epstein. De volgende clip zal ik jullie hierna ook laten zien. Daarin zegt advocaat Bradley Edwards, maar had goede informatie die klopte en die ons hielp en die wij niet deden, die we niet hoefden te doen door een verklaring van hem af te leggen. Dat was in 2009. Hij zegt dat was in 2009. Dus kijk deze clip mensen en laat er geen twijfel over mogelijk zijn dat Donald Trump niet betrokken is bij enige verschrikkelijke zaak op het eiland van Jeffrey Epstein. Kijk deze video, deel hem zoveel mogelijk, ik moet nog even wennen aan het Nederlands mensen. Deel hem met zoveel mogelijk mensen en ik zie jullie weer bij een volgende video. De volgende clip zal ik jullie hierna ook laten zien. Daarin zegt advocaat Bradley Edwards, maar had goede informatie die klopte en die ons hielp en die wij niet deden, die we niet hoefden te doen door een verklaring van hem af te leggen. Dat was in 2009. Hij zegt dat was in 2009. Dus kijk deze clip mensen en laat er geen twijfel over mogelijk zijn dat Donald Trump niet betrokken is bij enige verschrikkelijke zaak op het eiland van Jeffrey Epstein. Kijk deze video, deel hem zoveel mogelijk, ik moet nog even wennen aan het Nederlands mensen. Deel hem met zoveel mogelijk mensen en ik zie jullie weer bij een volgende video.
Trafficking. I told you before and I reminded you yesterday that a woman has alleged that when she was 13 years old, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein...
En laat er geen twijfel over mogelijk zijn dat Donald Trump niet betrokken is bij enige verschrikkelijke zaak op het eiland van Jeffrey Epstein.
Raped her at Epstein's New York City condo. The lawsuit was ultimately stopped by the accuser after she allegedly received death threats because she had come forward. Now, Donald Trump has been going very much out of his way to distance himself from Jeffrey Epstein as much as possible, despite having hung out with him a lot in years past.
Now, one best-selling crime writer is also turning heads with a new book that reveals the Mar-a-Lago owner actually kicked out South Florida financier Jeffrey Epstein. The incident allegedly took place at Mar-a-Lago back in 1999. One chapter in the book, Filthy Rich, details how Epstein was a regular at the club, but that all ended when a member's young daughter complained to her wealthy father. While relaxing at Mar-a-Lago, she had been approached and invited out to Epstein's house. The girl said that she had gone and that Epstein had tried to get her to undress. The girl's father had gone directly to Trump, who, in no uncertain terms, told Epstein that he was barred from Mar-a-Lago. That's all in Chapter 33 of the book. Epstein later served just 13 months in county jail after pleading guilty to procuring minors for prostitution, and the reasons are a large part of that book.
Interesting. Some could say that Trump was coming to the defense of a young girl. Others might say he was trying to save his revenue and keep a wealthy member or customer happy. Either way, the story goes, Donald Trump kicked a predator out of the Mar-a-Lago club there.
Something you don't hear, something nice that you don't always hear on these entertainment-type websites.
Yeah, this new book is just coming out. We'll keep an eye on some tabloids and some other stories to see if this makes the runs in the national press.
In years past, and he even threw out somebody at his rally in Minnesota over the weekend for holding up a picture of Trump with his arm around Jeffrey Epstein. I talked about that yesterday. There's now a stunning report in the New York Times, which includes the story of a 1992 party at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida, where the only attendees were Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and, quote, 28 girls for some kind of supposed calendar girl competition. Now, why am I calling them girls and not women? Because that's the word that the organizer used to describe this event. His name is George Horaney. He's a Florida businessman who ran American Dream Enterprise, and he organized this party for Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, saying to the New York Times, quote, "I arranged to have some contestants fly in. At the very first party, I said, 'Who's coming tonight?' I have 28 girls coming. It was him and Epstein. I said, 'Donald, this is supposed to be a party with VIPs. You're telling me it's you and Epstein?' And I want to be really, really careful here to make clear what I am telling you and what I am not telling you, or what it is that the New York Times is reporting and what it is not that they're reporting. There is no indication that any of these 28 women were underage as far as what we know right now, okay?
The first of 8 accusers publicly came forward Wednesday night of this week. Mindy McGilvery was one of them. For her, it was the presidential debate in St. Louis that prompted her to speak out. McGilvery couldn't believe what she had just heard.
We hear Anderson Cooper ask him, like, a number of times, you know, is this something that you did? Did you grope women? Did you kiss them? And he just adamantly says no. I jumped off of my couch. And I was like, you're a liar.
That's something else.
Summer Zervos once appeared as a contestant on Trump's reality show, The Apprentice. After she was kicked off the show, Zervos was in talks with Trump about working for his company. He asked to meet her at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
He came to me and started kissing me open-mouthed as he was pulling me towards him. I tried to push him away. I pushed his chest to put space between us, and I said, "Come on, man, get real." He repeated my words back to me, "Get real," as he began thrusting his genitals.
I was very young.
In the early 1990s, Kristen Anderson was an aspiring model in New York. According to the Washington Post, Anderson had never met or seen Donald Trump in person until he sat down next to her one night in a Manhattan dance club.
The person on my right, who unbeknownst to me at that time was Donald Trump, put their hand up my skirt.
Temple Taggart is a former Miss Utah. She says without her consent, Trump kissed her on the lips immediately after meeting her in 1997. Rachel Crooks told the New York Times that Trump kissed her inappropriately as well in 2005. Natasha Stoynoff, a writer for People magazine, says Trump forcibly kissed her and pinned her down while on a reporting assignment at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. And Jessica Leeds says Trump grabbed her breasts and put his hands up her skirt on a plane in the early 1980s. Donald Trump again Friday denied all of the allegations against him and described it all as a political smear campaign.
I don't know who these people are. I look on television. I think it's a disgusting thing.
Which is exactly how Mindy McGilvery says Trump treated her one night backstage after a Ray Charles concert at the Mar-a-Lago estate. McGilvery was there with a friend waiting to get her picture taken with the singer when she says Trump grabbed her from behind.
And he didn't give me a second glance. He knew what he did. I know he knew what he did. I can tell by looking at his smug face, he knew exactly what he did. I told Ken, I was like, Donald just grabbed my ass. And he was like, what do you want to do about it? I was like, I was silent, you know, I don't want to do anything.
She says she regrets not confronting the billionaire right on the spot. And despite Trump's insistence that he treats women with respect, all of the women who've come forward say Trump treated them like objects that he could have his way with.
What would you tell Donald Trump today?
You're sick person. And if you don't acknowledge it, then maybe he's just a helpless old man who needs to step down.
This is evidence that Donald Trump was truly friends with Epstein, liked hanging out with him, was hanging out with him. And in this case, it was just him, Epstein, and 28 hired women or girls, as they are described by George Horaney. So the big picture is very clear. The party was in 1992. This is around the same time that the Doe versus Trump incident allegedly happened, where Trump was accused of raping the 13-year-old girl. I got some emails yesterday from people saying, David, I'm glad you brought this back up. But I also got a few emails yesterday saying, David, why are you repeating these unsubstantiated conspiracy theories against Trump? Hold on a second. There are rape allegations. The lawsuit was pulled over death threats. Trump is accused of sexually assaulting more than 15 women. He's accused of hanging out with Epstein and young women.
Stunning new developments in the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, a woman identified only by the pseudonym Jane. She says disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein took her to meet Donald Trump in the 1990s.
Accused of sexually abusing underage girls, some as young as 14. At one time, the well-connected mega millionaire drew praise from President Trump back in 2002 before allegations surfaced. Trump saying he was, quote, a terrific guy. Going on to say, it is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
E.T. discovered this footage in our archive, which we provided to CBS News.
Soon. Thursday night. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly.
Trump's wife said that Trump raped her multiple times. What is so out of line here about the fact that we have court documents and deposition testimony from the accuser of Donald Trump claiming she was 13 years old when Donald Trump raped her? Are you saying that because there was no conviction in the Trump child rape, there is no reason to think anything happened? That seems like an extreme position to take. Incredibly, there are tons and tons of people who just have no idea about the sworn allegations against Donald Trump, but we have sworn statements from the woman who was 13 at the time. That has not changed. We are linking to her deposition video where her face is blurred in the source links for the YouTube video for this segment. If you want to take a look at it, if you're listening on the radio or the podcast or watching on TV, if you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The David Pakman Show, find the video clip for this story.
Second time that I saw Mr. Trump was same scenario. He was onlooking at an orgy, and Tiffany came over to me and said that Donald Trump had requested that I perform oral sex on him. He came in and I was basically tied to a bed with pantyhose. And he tied him, and they were so tight it hurt to even like lay there. And I tried to say something. And it was like, you just shut up, shut up, bitch. This is basically like he was being really, really rough, and I started to get scared, and he was basically like ripping my clothes off, and I was actually I got freaked out. I just turned into this animal. It was like a completely different person. I couldn't do anything about it. And he ripped off all my clothes, and he started to basically have sex with me, and I was screaming because I'd never had sex before.
In the description, we are linking to the testimony of the accuser. Take a look at it and tell me that it's not credible. So things not going particularly well for Donald Trump. And we will see what continues to come of this. And Donald Trump very clearly worried about it. Donald Trump going out of his way to talk about how he just barely has any idea who Epstein is. He gave a very strange Oval Office question and answer session yesterday where he's just going way too far. He's going way too far given what we know and what's on record about his relationship with Epstein. Let me know what you think is going to come of this. And of course, if history is an indicator, the last 2.5 years are an indicator, it is unlikely that there will ever actually be any consequences that involve Trump here, because that seems to be the name of the game. Teflon Don, originally, I can't believe the mobster. I always forget who it is that Teflon Don was originally the nickname for, and I feel so stupid when people email me. But anyway, can also be applied to Donald Trump. Send me your thoughts. I'm on Twitter at @dpacman. The show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show. Hope you'll follow me there.
En laat er geen twijfel over mogelijk zijn dat Donald Trump niet betrokken is bij enige verschrikkelijke zaak op het eiland van Jeffrey Epstein.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
En laat er geen twijfel over mogelijk zijn dat Donald Trump niet betrokken is bij enige verschrikkelijke zaak op het eiland van Jeffrey Epstein.
The court. Quote, look at that piece of I would love some of that. It so happened that Trump was referring to Cohen's then 15-year-old daughter, Samantha.
I had the impression that he was interested in younger women and that, women would age out for him.
Miss Teen Universe? Yeah, that's like giving Jeffrey Dahmer a cooking show.
I'll go backstage before a show, and everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I standing there with no clue.
Donald Trump is heard making questionable comments about a young girl.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
A lawsuit against the presumptive GOP nominee alleges he raped a girl when she was 13 years old.
Prince Andrew answering questions for the first time about his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
I don't know Prince Andrew, but it's a tough story.
Trump has been photographed with Prince Andrew as far back as the year 2000.
Ghislaine Maxwell is accused of helping Epstein sexually abuse underage girls.
I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. Right. I mean,
you are one.
All right, I was going to say that, but it's true.
En laat er geen twijfel over mogelijk zijn dat Donald Trump niet betrokken is bij enige verschrikkelijke zaak op het eiland van Jeffrey Epstein.
Welcome back. Several high-profile names were mentioned in a batch of documents released yesterday pertaining to the crimes of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. 40 exhibits in the settled case against longtime Epstein confidant Ghislaine Maxwell were made public last night. Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison last year for recruiting teenage girls to be abused by the late billionaire. But the documents were related to an earlier lawsuit against her for civil defamation. Among those named in the more than 800 pages yesterday were former presidents Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, though they are not accused of any wrongdoing. Trump's name came up during witness testimony from one Epstein accuser who recalled the sex offender saying he would, quote, call up Trump to visit one of his casinos in New Jersey. The same woman testified that she never gave the former president a massage. In 2002, Trump told New York Magazine that Epstein was, quote, a terrific guy and a lot of fun to be with, adding that he, quote, likes beautiful women on the younger side. But in 2019, prior to Epstein's death in a New York City jail cell, Trump said he hadn't spoken to the financier in 15 years. As for Clinton, a witness recalled Epstein saying that the former president, quote, likes them young, referring to girls. In Maxwell's deposition, she said Clinton had dined on Epstein's plane, but denied that he ever visited an island where abuse often took place. In 2019, a spokesman for the former president said he had not spoken to Epstein in more than a decade. The documents do contain allegations of wrongdoing against other figures, though. The Duke of York, Prince Andrew, who settled a sexual abuse lawsuit with an Epstein accuser last year, is alleged to have had sex with an unnamed minor in New York, London, and on Epstein's Island.
En laat er geen twijfel over mogelijk zijn dat Donald Trump niet betrokken is bij enige verschrikkelijke zaak op het eiland van Jeffrey Epstein.
About being a sexual predator.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. I mean,
you are one.
All right, I was going to say that, but it's true.
Familiar names, from politicians to celebrities, many of them previously linked to Epstein before his suicide in 2019. Former President Bill Clinton and Donald Trump mentioned in deposition transcripts. Both have denied any wrongdoing. In one, a woman who once worked for Epstein recalled he spoke to her about Clinton, saying Epstein told her one time, quote, that Clinton likes them young, referring to girls. A spokesman for Clinton referred NBC News to a prior statement from 2019 saying he had not spoken to Epstein in over a decade and was unaware of Epstein's crimes. The same woman says Epstein once suggested calling Trump for an outing in Atlantic City. Other prominent names also littered throughout the documents, including the late pop star Michael Jackson and magician David Copperfield.